Hello everyone and welcome. I am Robin Armbrecht at Really Robin Stamps and you are joining me for Papercrafting Playdate. Today is February 11th, 2022 and happy Friday. This is episode 48 of Papercrafting Playdate, and whether you are joining me live or if you are watching on the replay somewhere down the road, I am thrilled that you're here. If you are new, welcome. Leave me a comment, tell me where you're from. If you've been watching me for a while, leave me a comment because I feel like we are friends and I love to hear from you. So today I have 4 different ways to make recessed panel cards. So let's get straight to it. Give me a minute while I flip the camera and get that situated. Happy Friday, everyone. We have made it to the end of a week. Okay, I'm going to zoom in like that. And then we're going to see how that all looks, and hopefully it will look good today. So, if you are joining me live, say hi. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Carrie. Wonderful to have you here. I've got some happy mail to show you, so I'm going to do that and hopefully find this video. There we go, it's popping up. Good deal. Now I can see your comments. Hey Susan, hi Wendy, hi Sue, hi Carol. Yay! All right, I have some very sweet cards to show you today. This is from a new friend, Judy. And she gave me this excellent snowman card. I remember the stamps are so cute. Advice from a snowman. Be a jolly happy soul. Spend time outdoors. Avoid meltdowns. Be well-rounded. Live well. Life is short. Isn't that cute? I love that. Thank you, Judy, so much. This is from a new friend, Linda. She used that hand-penned suite and made this incredible gorgeous card. Look at all these wonderful layers on here. The gingham folder and the scalloped rectangles. This is beautiful. Linda, this is a surprise in the mail to me. Thank you so much. This card is from a swap that I participated in with my Butterfly Friends group. And this is from Sue. She made this one. Is absolutely gorgeous. I love how she did this 3D Hive embossing folder and then sanded the paper. So she did it on designer series paper and then sanded it so you could really see the inside of the paper coming through. This is a great technique and I've completely forgotten about it, Sue. Thank you for sending me that. This is beautiful. And then I got some amazing Valentines. This is from Susan. Thank you so much, Susan. This is a gorgeous card, but honestly, what's on the inside of what you've written is even more beautiful. So thank you so very much. I love all these the little bouquet you made here for that little bear. He's so cute. And this is from my friend Diane. She used that awesome angles template, and I love this. This is the paper from last year's Valentine's Day paper. So beautiful and foiled. Thank you, Diane. And this is from my friend Sherry. And she also used a paper pumpkin kit pieces here. So pretty. I love these little epoxy hearts. Gorgeous. This is from Jill. Also part of a paper pumpkin kit with these 2 cute little chameleon. Thank you so much, Jill. You always send me beautiful cards. And then this is from my friend Claudia. And she used that inlaid die technique. Is this not so gorgeous? I hope you're catching the foil on there the right way. I think this is beautiful. Love this so much, Claudia. And again, the message on the inside is the best part, right? I wish I could read all those to you too. All right, thank you for the happy meal. Happy meal. I'm hungry. I meant happy mail. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have 4 ways we're going to make recessed panel cards. Has anybody heard about these kinds of cards? So a recessed spot, all that means is that it's a space that recedes, right? So we're going to create a space that recedes on our card front, and it's going to just give the front of the card a nice little, it has just great depth to it, and it's with, you know, making it very easy to just create something very special. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you the pieces that you need to create pretty much all these recessed panel cards. There's going to be little tweaks to them, okay? I'm going to move that out of the way so we have lots of room today. All right, so I'm calling this first one the long recessed panel, and that is because it's going to go on the length of the card front. When you make a recessed panel card, your card base is generally always hidden. So I am using thick basic white for all of my card bases today. So I just cut a bunch up. All my card bases are 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, scored at 4 1/4. And then what you need for your card front is a piece that's 5.5 by 3 1/4 inches. Okay, and we're going to cut that up, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then you need a piece of designer series paper that is 1 1/4 inches by 5.5. This is going to fill the gap between our card front there where the receding panel is. And then optional, you can get a coordinating cardstock color. These are 1/2 inch by 5.5, and I'll show you how those are going to come together. All right, so here's our card base, but let's work on the card front. Now, generally, I would say you will do your stamping on this card front before you cut it apart. But today, for this very first one, since it's white, I'm going to stamp right on, and I'm going to do it after I cut it. All right, so I've got some colors here ready to go. So I'm going to take our card front. Again, this is 3 1/4 inches by 5.5, and I'm going to cut off 1 inch like that. So let me just show you, if you're kind of confused as to what is she doing here, this is what is going to happen. So I know this is white on white right now, but you're going to cut 1 inch off of that 3 1/4, and then we're going to separate it on the card front. And this is where the recessed panel is going to be, okay? Inside of the recessed panel is where you're going to put this really pretty designer series paper. All right. Sherry, you do need to try an inlay die card. They are so pretty. Hello, Sarah. Hi, Liz. Hi, Judy. Everybody is here. Wonderful. Hi, Margie. All right, so like I said, we're going to go ahead and decorate this before we put it on our card. And so I thought it would be really fun to bring in the Rainbow of Happiness stamp set. And this is on page 18 of the mini catalog. So I'm going to use this stamp set. I'm not going to use the dies today, just the stamp set, and I'm going to use the free Sunshine and Rainbows paper that is on page 8 of the Celebration catalog. So we are right in the middle. No, we are nearing the end. We're like 3/4 of the way through of Celebration. So if today's the 11th, there's just 17 days left. Is that correct? I think 17 days left of Celebration. So let's play with this first. So I'm going to create a little rainbow on here since we have this white paper. And I'm going to use I'm going to use these little pieces here that coordinate with these pieces, and I'm just going to put together a very simple little rainbow. So let's start with the smallest little arch. Which one is it? Arch, right? Arch? Someone correct me. All right, so we're going to use Mango Melody, and I'm going to create that first little arch. And then I'm going to take Melon Mambo, hold on here. Actually, the first thing I'm going to do is line this up. So these, because of the way that the photopolymer shape, they have that little bit of wiggle there. So if you want to make sure you get it exactly right, you can put it on your project first and kind of get that arch to do what you want, and then pick it up with the block. All right, so I am going to not stamp this full strength. I'm going to stamp it on my scratch paper one time here, so that I'm going to get a lighter value of that Melon Mambo, like that. And then I'm going to take the piece that matches, which is this little cute little hash marks into the same, it's the same size, and I'm going to put that right over the other one and pick that up. And then I'm going to stamp that again in Melon Mambo, but this time I won't stamp off, so it will be the darker true value of that color. So we'll get some contrast there. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the last arch. That one's going to be in Bermuda Bay, because those are the colors in my paper. So I'm going to pick up that large arch, and I'm going to stamp it off on my scratch paper. Oh, let me try that again. Whoops, I used the wrong color. Let's try Bermuda Bay. Stamp that off. And then we'll stamp that on there. I'm just cleaning these off after I use them, and then we're going to use the words that match this size. And again, I'm just lining it up so that it hits exactly where I want it to when I stamp it. And then we'll stamp that full strength Bermuda Bay. There, so we've got a little rainbow that matches our paper. Let me put these pieces back in here so they don't walk away. So this is going to be the top. And then on the bottom here, I'm going to stamp the main greeting. And since this says sending you a rainbow of happiness, I thought it would be cute to put happy for you here. Also, happy birthday would be accurate, just to kind of reinforce that happy greeting. So I'm going to put happy for you down there. All right, let's put the ink pads away and we'll assemble the card. So with a recessed panel card, hi Nydia, hi Robin, you have to use a lot of dimensionals, because in order to get that recessed look, the pretty much the entirety of your card front needs to be popped up. So you have to use quite a few dimensionals. So if you always use them sparingly, like I do, this is a little stressful, but it's totally worth it. I tend to probably underuse my dimensionals just because I like to make them go as far as they can go. Now, this is a great time to use these edges of the you know, the edge dimensionals. If you don't use them or save them, this is a great time to use them. You can just pull off however much you want. Here's a little corner. So it's a great way to use up those edges on something where you really want to make sure that it's secure and it all stays raised up, especially if you're going to mail it. So let's take all of these off. Okay, and we'll take this one off. There we go. What I like to do, now you can just measure up. So you know that this is an inch, right? So it's going to go up an inch. And so you could use your ruler and figure out where that's going to land. And then since this is 1.25 inches, you've got a little bit of wiggle room in that gap because the gap is going to be 1 inch. So you can go ahead and attach it now once you kind of figure it out, or what I like to do is just put on one of these panels. So I'm going to put this one, I'm going to line it up right with the edges of the card. And then, since I didn't put my dimensionals exactly right at the edge, now I can attach this and just slide it under. So that's what I'm going to do. Any opportunity I have to not get out the ruler, I'm going to seize that. Just going to slide that under there. Like that. And then this one's going to go on top. And we're going to get it straight. There we go. Maybe. Good thing I didn't press too hard. Okay. Now, I totally forgot about these pieces, but here's how they would work. So these are a coordinating color, and what you would do before you attach this is you would stick this under and you would just leave a tiny little piece showing, so that you would just have kind of a matted kind of border here on your recessed panel. No big deal. I have some samples to show you of the coordinating cardstock, but that's what this piece is here. So I kind of just like how simple this one is anyway, so we'll just run with it. And then I'm going to take some coordinating paper. This is also from the Sunshine and Rainbows, and I'm going to make a couple clouds with the cloud punch. Like that. And we'll just, so one of the nice features that kind of helps to accent the panel, I mean, you can really see it because the card is so dimensionalized, right? But it is kind of fun then if you bridge the gap between those with something that has a little bit of dimension to it. It just kind of helps pop it up. So we're going to do some clouds, and then we are going to add some bling, and then this one is just very simple. So I'm going to use a dimensional on the back because this can just sit right in the gap. So this is usually, I usually under dimensionalize like this. I mean, it's not bad, but I like to stretch them and make them go a long ways. I think I'm going to tuck that one under like that. All right, so there's our little clouds. Happy for you. And let's put some of these polished dots. I just like these clear little dots here. And we'll put a 3 of them on there. Like that. Okay, so there's card number 1, and I'm calling that the long recess because it's going the length or the long way of the card. Now, obviously you can make the panel go this way. Let me show you an example of that. Here is one with the awesome Otter stamp set. And for this one, instead of cutting straight, I used some of the dies from the basic border dies. So you're going to see several samples of this. So instead, this is the same size card front, 3 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I just took this little round one when I cut it instead of cutting a 1-inch strip. And then when it's separated, then you get to see the cute little designs on there. And that's just one way to step that up. Here is another one, which is a landscape card with the long. So you can stamp inside there. So these papers that I used here are part of the free Marvelous offerings from the Celebration catalog. These are also very, very fun papers to use. You've got 2 wonderful, very kind of generic. You can do so much with it, just kind of using it as a layering piece. I really, really like it. Okay, so that's the long version. So we're going to do now the short version, which is very similar, but it's just turned a little bit different. Okay. So the short recessed has a couple different dimensions to it. So we're going to use our same thick basic white as the card base. And then I wanted to bring in the Daffodil Afternoon paper. And we're going to use some pale papaya. So this is very much exactly the same as the long, except that your recessed panel is going to be, you know, the width or the shorter dimension of your card, which is 4 1/4 inches. So the piece that you need for your card front is 4 1/4 by 4 1/2, and this will give you a 1-inch recessed space. And so the Designer Series paper that you need is still 1 1/4 inches wide to give you that wiggle room, but it's 4 1/4. And if you want to have coordinating panels, so we'll put our little coordinating mats on this time. They are a 1/2 inch by 4 1/4. Okay. So for this one, I thought it would be fun to use an embossing folder. So instead of doing any stamping or anything on this piece that I'm going to cut to create the front of the card, I'm going to use the time-worn type embossing folder with this piece here. And I already pre-did it, so you could see the finished results quickly. So here is now my embossed card front. And to cut this one, I am also just going to cut off 1 inch. So here's where you can really vary the card. I'm keeping it kind of the same just so you can see the different types, right? But you can choose where this recessed panel is going to go. It could go right in the middle, so you could cut this piece in half. You could put it anywhere on your card. So these little cutting dimensions here are completely, you know, flexible to do whatever, you know, kind of card that you want. So that's going to go in the middle. Now, before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and put on these little matting pieces. So this is just going to give it a little accent. I'm going to put really just a little bit of glue here. And then we just want that to peek over the edge. We do want it to stick, however, so let's try that again. Like that. And then I'm just going to scoot that down so just a tiny, tiny little bit shows. Because I don't want it to take up too much space where that pretty designer series paper is showing. So I'll do the same thing on this one. And then flip it over and make sure I've got the right amount here. Like that. Okay, so we'll pop this up. Like that. Okay, has anybody made cards like this before? It's pretty easy. So let's get this nice and straight. And now we'll stick this inside. And I'm just going to tuck it right under. Like that, and then we'll pop this one up here. So you see how you can just kind of increase the interest on there by adding the embossing folder and then adding the little bit of a bordered edge. Again, one of the fun things about this is really you can let your designer series paper do all the work for you. If you've got a beautiful piece like this where you've got all these colors and patterns and design, the rest of the card front doesn't need to be complicated because that little piece of designer series paper is really, you know, kind of leading the card in the parade or whatever. It's doing all the work for you. You just have to kind of accent it. So all we need is just a little greeting and a little embellishment. So I have this little stitched guy here, and I wanted to use one of the greetings from this Happy and Heartfelt greeting set, which I'm really loving. This is also something that's available in the mini catalog here. This is page 51. Ooh, that's a sticky note. That is really stuck on there. I guess I should put that on the edge here. There we go. It's just a really fun font. It's got Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthday, thank you. It just has a bunch of different greetings on it. So that's one of my favorites there. So I wanted to make a little baby card because this kind of was speaking to me as a kind of just a nice soft little card. And so we're going to take Hello Baby and we're going to stamp that on there. And then we will put that in the ditch there in the little recessed panel, but I'm going to just put a tiny little bit of the liquid adhesive on the top and the bottom. We'll just put that right there. And now we just need a little accent. So I wanted to kind of mimic these little flowers, and I got back out my Flowers of Friendship bundle, one of my all-time favorites. I love this punch and this stamp set. And I created some flowers that will coordinate with this paper. This Daffodil Afternoon paper, so pretty. Who has this already? This is gorgeous, right? And it's meant to coordinate with the Daffodil Daydream stamp set that's in here. Let me show you where that's at. I just love it when all of these things coordinate. So it's meant to go with this, or designed to go with it. So you've got actually stamped images and dies that can create, you know, daffodils from scratch, and then you have all that paper. I made the executive decision to not get the Daffodil Afternoon bundle because I wanted so many other things, and so I'm really working, you know, to see what other kinds of flowers and things coordinate with this paper. And there's so many things. There's the daisy punch, there's this flower punch, there's all the little leaf punches. So you really, even though, yes, it does have a lot of daffodils in it, you don't have to have daffodils, which I love that. I just love how the products work. So this is Daffodil Delight and Flirty Flamingo. And I thought it'd be pretty to put some of this pale papaya embellishments on our flowers, since that's the color of our card front. And we'll put a small one here. And then let's put one also up here. Okay, what do you think about the short version? We're just gonna go ahead and add some of this coordinating sheer ribbon because we can. And it's a baby card, so it has to be kind of soft and pretty, right? Like that. Oops, that did not stick. Hold on one second. Let's try that again. There we go. All right, so there is the short version. So we've done the long recess and we've done the short recess. And this one we added on the matting pieces. So here's my practice one, and I did not put the matting pieces on. So you can see the effect that it has. It just kind of really accents that panel, right? I cannot see your comments today. I'm so sorry. I'm not interacting. Oh my goodness. Yes. Sherry didn't get the bundle either. Good. So yeah, you'll have to, what are you doing with all of, you know, coordinating with that paper? Thank you. Thank you. All right. So here's another example. Of course, this one's the same way. You can turn this design any which way. So here is one with the celebration set that is called Catching Butterflies. Here's that cute little freebie set here. She was so much fun to color. And again, I used that Simply Marvelous paper with 2 shades of yellow. So that is that. And then here is another example of using the border dies. This time I used the cloud die and then just separated that. And for this sample, I wanted you to see that you can take these dimensions and then just cut off 1/4 of an inch on either side. If you want the card base to show, you just cut it, you know, cut down your card front and cut down your designer series paper by 1/4 of an inch. And then that way you will have a border around it. So there's just a lot of different ways to vary this. All right, so this is the short one. Now, can you guess what we're going to do next? If you said diagonal, you're correct. All right, so let's look at the dimensions for the diagonal. This piece is actually exactly the same as what I used for the short version. So here's my thick basic weight card base. And this is 4 1/4 by 4 1/2. Okay, so it's exactly the same size as I used for the pale papaya. We're just going to cut it in a different direction. Instead of cutting off 1 inch, we're going to cut a diagonal out of this. Okay, my designer series paper has to be a little bit wider though, okay, because so if it was only 4 1/4, when I would tilt this diagonally, it won't be long enough. So I just cut off a whole piece that was from a 6x6, so this is actually 6 inches. You don't need that much. You need about 1 1/4 to 5 or 5.5 inches of designer series paper, and then you're going to mount that diagonally and you'll trim the ends like that. So I am using this beautiful Simply Marvelous paper, which I thought I had out here to show you all the pretty colors. But I can't find it. So let's make the card and we'll see if I locate it here. So what we're going to do first is we're going to stamp on here. And I thought it would be fun to use this Hostess set. This is available just during celebration, called Calming Camellia. And it has this beautiful distinctive image. It's absolutely gorgeous. And one of the things I keep seeing a lot of demonstrators do with this stamp set is to just make backgrounds with it, tone on tone. And so I played with that, and it's just the most delightful. It's beautiful. All right, so I am using Highland Heather because the two purples that are in this piece are Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape. And then the ink that I'm using is also Highland Heather. And so I'm going to just fill up the whole piece here. I'm going to turn my stamp every time I stamp it. And I'm going to slightly overlap the images just so I get a full, you know, get no gaps there. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? I could stamp that all day. Just give me colored cardstock and ink, and you need 100 of those, no problem. I will stamp them all for you because that is so much fun. Okay, so what we're gonna do for our diagonal, now you wanna make sure, because this is 4 1/4 by 4 1/2, it almost looks square. So you just wanna make sure you know where the 4 1/2 inch side is before you cut, because we're gonna cut it like this. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this. And again, with diagonals, you can put this diagonal cut anywhere you want, but if you want to have some guidelines, measure 1 inch from the top, and this would be the top left, and then measure 2 1/2 inches from the top right. Okay, so looking at the front of the card, I've got 1 inch, 2 1/2 inches. Okay, and I'm just going to make those lines line up and cut that in a diagonal. All right, so we are going to pop this up. I'm gonna not mat this one just to keep it very simple. Whew, it's a lot of dimensionals. It's okay, it's worth it. This card is definitely a wow, just because of how I think elegant it looks with the designer series paper kind of peeking through. Okay, so I'm going to just do the one so that I know where my designer series paper goes. And then I'm going to use this light side here. So I'm actually just going to put some adhesive here and here, and then we'll tuck that under, and then we'll trim it off. And then we'll add the bottom here. There are a lot of these. I can't get over how pretty this is. There are so many distinctive images similar to this in the catalog. So if you don't have the opportunity to be a hostess during celebration, you can definitely use some of the other stamp sets. All right, so, oh, here's my sample paper. There it is. I just wanted you to peek at all the colors that come in this Simply Marvelous pack. So you've got pinks, yellows, purples, the kind of the green Coastal Cabana, gray, and then the balmy blue. And you have the larger marble on one side and then the smaller on the other side. So it's just really, really pretty and versatile because it's just great colors too. So I wanted to span the gap here with a word. And so I took these two thanks and the smaller scripty one I used on this side, and then I used the larger shadow on Gorgeous Grape, so it would be a coordinating color. I went ahead and already did that so that you would not have to wait. So I'm just figuring out where this is going to fit here. That. So I'm just going to put it right over the middle like that. And then this smaller one, look how pretty this is out of that marbled paper. Going to add a little glue to tops and bottoms of the letters here. And then we'll set that right on top. Hold it in place for a second. That's pretty. I think so. Of course, I'm definitely a purple girl. We've got these beautiful coordinating ribbons for our purples right now. We have this beautiful Highland Heather, has a little shimmer in it, and now that I'm pulling this out, I realized I was going to use ribbon as my matting pieces on here. That's what I was going to do. So I was going to cut this in half and put it underneath as the little mat to add a little sparkle, but that's okay. We'll just do something else. So I'm just going to make one little piece of this sparkle, and we'll put that right down there. This might be my favorite one so far. And then we'll take the sheer Gorgeous Grape and we'll make a little bow to set on top. So we'll just kind of layer our ribbons. And attach with a glue dot. Like that. Very, very, very purple. Boy, that's very purple. I even got these out, so let's just go for it here. We've got lots of purple. These are the pastel pearls. Do I like the light purple? I like the dark purple. So we'll put a couple little shiny pearls up here. Like that. All right, so this is the diagonal recessed panel. Here is another one with that same paper, same stamp set, but I used the Blushing Bride just to show you a little bit different. So one of the things you can do is just stamp right on that designer series paper if it is of a lighter, lighter color. So that's an option too. And then here are two where I used the embossing folder. and I wanted to show you some variations. So you'll notice this gap here, this space is bigger. And so instead of cutting my card front 4 1/4 by 4 1/2, I cut it 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. I just made it a square to keep it simple. So that takes off 1/4 of an inch and will allow this gap to be bigger. Okay, same with this one. I did the same thing. So the embossing folder adds just a nice little extra contrast between the, you know, the cardstock and the designer series paper. So very flexible design. You just have to adjust the basic measurements that I gave you. And you can also make this diagonal go deeper, okay? You can change it around in a lot of different ways. All right, so the last thing I said, I promised 4 ways, and I am going to deliver 4 ways here. So the very last one is a variation on the diagonal, and I'm calling it an expanded diagonal. Thanks, Margie. All right, so here's our card base. So this one gets put together slightly differently because of the way the diagonal is cut. So this one is called an expanding diagonal because the diagonal starts small and then gets wider. So it looks a little bit differently. So for this one, you have to have a card front piece that is the entire size of the card front, because you're not just going to make a cut and separate it, you're actually going to cut out a piece and discard. So I am going to layer to show you a matting. And the easiest way to do this, because of how you cut it, is to just have a whole nother piece. So this is going to be my contrast, the coral, and this coastal cabana is going to be the card front. And then the designer series paper that I'm using is a new one to me. This is from a new pack in the mini catalog. It's called Artfully Composed, and it's all very nice and tropical and greens and these beautiful, beautiful colors. Look at all of that. So this is my first card with this pack of paper. It coordinates with this stamp set and this bundle of dies. So we're going to use a couple of those pieces as well. So let me show you how you cut the expanding diagonal. So the first thing that you're going to do is just do a little measuring. You're going to mark at 3/4 of an inch from that top left corner, and then a little bit like 1 1/8, 1 1/4, however you want that little gap to be. And then on this side, you're going to measure 2 3/4 and 4 1/2 or something like that. Whatever, however, low you want it to go. Like that. So you're going to have 2 lines here to kind of create that expanding diagonal. We're going to cut these at the same time. So I'm going to take the first 3/4 inch mark and this one that is 2 3/4. So this is representative of the first cut from 3/4 inch to 2 3/4. Like that. And then this next cut is what we're going to actually cut out. So that's from 1 1/8 to, so this is not even. It's going to kind of create almost like a sun ray effect. It's going to have that expanding diagonal like that. So this is just scraps. Okay, so the reason that I had you go ahead and cut a whole nother piece for your cording is just very easy, since it's on the diagonal, to just kind of offset it a little bit and glue it down, and it'll just be a little bit easier than trying to put a strip under there. But you could do that. You could do that. This is just another way. I just like to show you lots of different ways to get to the same kind of thing. So I'm going to just offset that a little bit. Make it even. Aren't those colors pretty together? That screams summer. I know it's too early, but now before I mount this one, I'm going to do a little stamping on this piece because I love this little scripty background that comes in this stamp set. So let's just do some tone on tone and bring in our scratch paper, and we'll just stamp a little background. It'll make it a little bit different from the other side. Okay, now we'll put this onto the matting piece. Like that. Now before I put it on the card front, I'm going to put my greeting right onto this front as well. So I'm going to take and stamp one of the greetings from this stamp set right along the diagonal. Now we will put it all together. So the reason you need a little bit more designer series paper, and this is even extra, is because of how that angle expands. You're going to need a piece that starts up here and then goes all the way to here. Now it is possible, like I did with the other diagonal that we just made, it's possible to go that way and put a strip. It just depends on if your pattern paper has like a direction to it or not. So we're just going to play it safe and put this large piece here. That. Now this one hangs over just a little bit, so let me take care of that. And then we'll put our dimensionals on. The mini dimensionals have a huge border around them, so this is great to use on these projects. Put a couple more. Yeah, these colors are making me very happy. Very bright and cheerful. Just pulling up these little pieces here. Feels good to use up a whole sheet of dimensionals, doesn't it? Oh my goodness. And then that one goes on the bottom. And now you have this beautiful expanding diagonal panel. Okay, so we just need something to span the gap here, and I just cut out this beautiful little leaf from one of the dies. This is fun because you get all these beautiful leaves in here, and it's just like some patterns to make etching in the cardstock. You get a border, a little stitched border. This is a really great bundle. So let's attach this guy, and this card is done. So now you know 4 different ways to make recessed panel cuts on your card fronts, and to just kind of, you know, give a little bit extra fun to the front of a card. So once I created this with this distressed, right, I remembered I had this set right here. This was a free one that Stampin' Up! Gave us, demonstrators, when we attended an event. And so I've used it a few times, but now that I saw this beautiful background technique, I was like, oh, we've got to make backgrounds. So I did some more expanding diagonals, with one with each of the pieces, and I just smushed them together to create a background. So this one is actually the Whisper White Craft ink. As it dries on a dark color like that, it actually kind of takes on the color of the cardstock. So this looks like I stamped it in some purple ink, but it's really just white. And then look at this one with the grays, and I did that effect again with the thanks. So pretty. And then here's the trees. Like, this is a great masculine card right here. So that is the expanding diagonal. Okay, so yes, we did it. We did a lot. We did a lot. We've got the diagonal, the expanding diagonal. We have the short recessed, and then we have the long recessed. So hopefully I have been able to convince you that you need to try this. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Use your embossing folders, make backgrounds, use punches, and pull out your beautiful designer series paper and let that kind of drive the colors of your card and the things that you're going to put together, little pieces. That's a lot. Yay! All right, so it is February 11th. If you are watching this in the current month, 2022, don't forget, Celebration is the best sale of the year, so you want to take advantage of that. I always try to offer an incentive. So I have a hostess code that is good for this month of February, and along with placing your Celebration order of $50, you also get, from me in the mail, you get a blending brush and a blending pen to help you with your coloring. And that's for $50. And then if you want to spend $100 with me and get 2 Celebration items, or one of the bigger items that are of value for $100, like this bundle here, and this great greeting set right here, you can also choose between the water painters and the set of watercolor pencils. So that's additional. That's a lot I'm giving away this month, but I want you to take advantage and have every opportunity to earn some free stuff during Celebration. So I appreciate you so very much. I love that you watched with me. Please leave me a comment and tell me something, anything. I love to hear from you. And thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.